Hey everyone, this is Rachel again. It's been a hot minute since I've done a live video, but I've really felt like this is something I need to talk to the general public about for a while now. I have been going to college for the last 2 years at my local community college, and the thing I've been focusing on the most is climate change and global warming. And in that vein, what I want to talk to you guys today about are the reasons why I personally am so impressed by China, of all places. Yes, that's right. I'm impressed with the place that has now brought us the quote-unquote Wuhan virus. Heaven forbid I say those terms. But yeah, I want to make the point that I'm still impressed, even in the face of such, horrid, ridiculous, unpolitically correct bullcrap, frankly. I was doing that for sorry, but go figure out what sarcasm is and come back to me. Because seriously, I am so impressed with China still. Like, they are my idols, and they have been since I was young enough, or old enough, I should say, to understand global warming and all this other bullshit. And I was very young when I started to understand it. Like, I seriously was. Like, I was in first grade, probably second grade. Like, I know that seems probably really hard to fucking believe, but it's still true. I've always been, tuned into the environment because, frankly, I think people are a load of crap for the most part. I hate humans. I fucking hate humans. If it were up to me, 98.9% of them would all be taken out and shot tomorrow, frankly, but that's just me. And I know that's not ethically correct. I'm not a fucking moron. I'm not a fucking, Yahoo. I'm not, off my meds or some shit. But we're all entitled to our opinions, and they all stink like assholes, right? So, my personal opinion is that 98.9% of humans out there are fucking idiots that should be shot. The reason I say this is because America, for one, glaring example, it is part of why I say this. I personally have found since day one America to be tremendously horrid and tremendously vile in terms of not taking global warming seriously. Like, we're still having idiot presidents who think global warming is a farce. So yeah, how can I be happy about a country like that? And yet everybody wants to call me unpatriotic. I find unpatriotic to not take this shit seriously when it's clearly going to be, and already is, frankly. I don't think half the Americans realize that already, and already is killing thousands and thousands of people. Like, that's what so many idiotic Americans, especially, who are over entitled already in other parts of the country, not here in America, but in other parts of the country, have already killed thousands. And I would hazard to guess, though I'm not an expert, I would hazard to guess it's as many as COVID-19 has. Like, or more, if not more. And so that's why I really hate America. Is because when we want to call ourselves the greatest nation on earth, and please note the oversized air quotes, we can't do that and still simultaneously not take shit like this seriously. It doesn't add up. I mean, I'm sorry if you're too dense to put one and one together, but when you have things like massive landslides over in places like China or other Asian countries, I think one of the ones I'm thinking about right now, I heard happened in either Singapore or Thailand. Not China, but there's also been a lot in China, and I think 1 or 2 in Japan. But when huge ass landslides occur, that's not just random bad luck. I hate to break it to all you idiots out there who think it is. No, it's not. It is to a degree, but it's also a lot of other shit coming together, and a lot of that shit falls under the issues of global warming and environmental, change, or whatever the hell you want me to term it. And so I really feel like one, no, America is not the greatest country, obviously. Hell no, we are far from it. But number two, that attitude needs to get checked. And the reason it needs to get checked is because of examples like China. And the reason I say this is because since the 70s, off and on, it hasn't been in effect the entire 50 years at this point, because from 1970 to, to 2020 is 50 years. Well, actually, no, that's not quite true, because it didn't take effect until 1976 or 77. So it would be 50 years minus like 6, so about 44 years. I just don't want to be seen as inaccurate here. But so for roughly 45 years or thereabouts, China has off and on implemented a one-child policy. Heaven forbid I say those words as an American, right? Heaven forbid I use the one-child policy terms as an American. But it's true. That's why they have been an idol of mine since childhood, because I knew about their one-child policy even in childhood, and I was so impressed. I was so impressed by them. Like, they did my sad little heart proud. They did my sad little heart so proud. And so you have places like China that idiot Americans like us are calling idiotic, the place where Wuhan virus comes out of, all this other shit. Yet they are so progressive and they are so insightful that the leader of their country almost 50 fucking years ago puts a one-child policy in place to protect against humans' impact on climate change. I find that really fucking, I find that more progressive than fucking Bernie Sanders, for God's sakes. Bernie Sanders is a joke compared to the fucking Chinese government as far as I'm concerned. That's how sad America is. Because if the place we're making all these jokes about, all these racist, uncalled for jokes about right now in the face of COVID-19 is smart enough and futuristic enough to put a one-child policy in place, we should not be belittling them. We should be shutting the fuck up and bowing down to them, frankly. I don't care if that's horrid to say. It's true. In the light of what the fuck is happening in the world thanks to human stupidity. So if I'm sorry, I'm ADHD and I'm so freaking exhausted right now. I'm having a scroll moment right now. So if we're so fucking stuck up our own asses to think that we should ever have been, it was ever okay to belittle China, you're all a bunch of idiots to me, and please go drop dead. That's my personal opinion on mentality. Because like I said, all opinions are like assholes. They all stink. So, really, like, we want to be belittling the country that for the last 45 years or thereabouts has been way more progressive than us idiot Americans could ever hope to be. Like, I want to be that progressive personally, but I'm only one person. I'm only one fucking person. And you all know how it goes. One person, as much as you want to think it cannot make a difference. They really fucking can't. And so if I had, even a couple 100,000 more Americans on board with my attitude, maybe some change could get affected or whatever. But right now, it's just me, and all I can do is, put my 2 cents out there, so that's what I'm doing. And so my 2 cents is that China, progressive, America shit. America down the shitter. Trump is just bad news all over the place. I don't need to get into that. Anybody who has a brain already knows this. But Trump doesn't believe in global warming, obviously. He doesn't believe in climate change. He doesn't believe in, one-kid families. He fucking will try. If anybody remembers anything from his first year in office, he tried to fucking do away with abortions in his first term. Does anybody fucking remember that? Does anyone remember the legislation entitled Mikey's Law? Anybody remember that nasty little piece of legislation? Yeah. He tried to pass this bill this piece of legislation, rather, wrong term, because it's not a bill until it passes. He tried to pass this piece of legislation called Mikey's Law. And it was based on this mother's story out of California, if I remember correctly, And at the time she wrote this letter to President Trump, I think Mikey was like 5 years old or 4 years old. He was in pre-K or kindergarten at this point. And she wrote to him saying how all the doctors horrifically told her how she should get an abortion, blah, blah, blah. Just because, get this, just because, I use those words sarcastically, just because there was like, I think it was like over a 90% chance, or like, no, over an 80% chance rather, that he would be born with that skin disease where if you even touch the skin, it feels like you just lit the person's skin on fire or whatever. And a lot of other complications. So yeah, if you're okay putting your possible kid through all that, you're a monster and you shouldn't be a mother, in my opinion. So I'm sorry if you felt the doctors are being absolutely rabid and beyond stupid to ever suggest getting an abortion for the good of the fetus. Heaven fucking forbid, because what kind of a life is it, to be wrapped in bandages and hooked up to, monitors 24/7. Heaven forbid a doctor wouldn't want that for a child. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah, there was a lot of bullshit, and there still is, obviously, because Trump is still in office. But there was a lot of bullshit that went down specifically in his first term that a lot of people don't seem to, remember conveniently. That all, contribute to this, because abortions definitely contribute to global warming, because if there are no more abortions, then there's just more and more humans on the planet versus less humans. Yeah, I know, graphic. I get that, but I'm sorry, I'm not one to beat around the bush and mince my words. We're in a time crisis here, people. The quote unquote experts are now saying we only have 20 years to get our heads out of our asses in terms of global warming now. And so we are in a serious stupid loop, as I like to say in my, colorful terms. Because all the people in power don't believe in global warming, and all the idiots, aka the commoners, the common folks like me, who aren't like me though, who are stupid enough to just buy into whatever the leaders, quote unquote, the ones who are smart and know who they're talking about, say. And so they don't think global warming is any more of an issue than Trump does. So it's a cyclical issue. And that coupled, and yes, I'm going to shit on beliefs right now. So if you're not good with that, leave. But I'm that coupled with the right-wing evangelical Christian crap is going to do us in. It already has, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, but it's going to really do us in the end. Again, another reason to support China's example, because you've got idiot people like the Duggars, aka the TV show 19 Kids and Counting, if anybody remembers that lovely piece of horror from TLC. With 19 fucking kids, exactly that. Like, no fucking one family needs that many kids to keep the line going. I'm sorry. That is just environmental / climate change suicide. And not going to be, silenced or ashamed of being anti-child. I'm not. That's just fucking stupid. Anybody who's pro-child right now should be the ones ashamed. That's my fucking take on it. That is seriously my honest to God take on it right now. Anybody who's pro-child is a selfish fucking bastard. Honestly, legit. And that's probably going to sound shocking as hell. And everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm a fucking crazy idiot who doesn't know my ass from my front, so to speak. But trust me, I know exactly where my pussy is compared to my ass. And I also know for a fact that anybody who has a child is a selfish fucking cunt at this point. That is the God honest truth. I do not mince my words here. Because with the fact that Americans just in general are some of the most wasteful people on the planet, I found out a few years ago at a local climate change rally here in Vermont, because that's where I'm in. That's the state I'm in, Vermont. Big shock to all you, red naysayers against climate change out there, right? Oh yeah, she comes from a dippy hippie liberal state, no wonder why she's off the fucking rails. Yeah, I know all the fucking stereotypes. You can shove them where the sun don't shine. I've heard them all before. I found out at a climate change rally a few years ago that the United States militaristic installation is the largest, period. The largest organization, country, city, town, public institution out of any type of grouping you want to call it, the biggest contributor to global warming, period. Like out of anything else, even out of China, even out of Japan, even out of full-blown countries, the United States military is the biggest contributor to global warming, period. End of report. Like legit. Out of any potential classification of grouping you could make or whatever, however the hell you want me to term this. The U.S. military is the biggest contributor to global warming, which is not surprising because, again, America is full of shitheads and idiots. We're not exactly the brightest country in the box. So yeah, we're supporting with a billions, if not trillions, of dollars a year budget, the biggest supporter to our death. Isn't that just like America? Isn't that so like America? It's like so sadly ironic that I can't help but laugh right now. Like, that is like how sadly pathetic it is. Like, only in America, right? People, like, only fucking in America will you see stupidity of this size. Like, I swear to God. It is like, I'm sorry, but I'm so fucking overwhelmed and I'm so fucking saddened and depressed and pissed off by the situation. I can't help but laugh right now. I'm just at the end of my fucking climate change rope, or however the hell you want me to say it. Like, it is so fucking pathetically funny. It's irony at its fucking saddest, is what it is. It is irony at its fucking saddest. That we are so fucking beyond self-centered and so beyond fucking gone in terms of any good scientific basis to our country, that we're within, if we don't get somebody like way far left to actually recalibrate the middle as the middle and moderate versus, far off right wingers instead. Because really, to me right now, the middle or the moderates on either side of the fence are so far fucking left or right that there's not actually any moderation to them. In order to actually recalibrate the middle of the political pack or whatever, in my terms, or in my, opinion rather, wrong term, we need somebody as radical as Sanders to recalibrate us. Because, I'm sorry, but Trump isn't radical enough in the right ways. Like, I thought he would be. No, I did not vote for him. Do not think I voted for him. I voted for Jill Stein. If you can't tell by now that I'm a Green Party girl, I don't know why you're still here, but I'm totally for anybody who puts the environment first above anybody else. So I voted for Stein. I knew it was a wasted vote, but I still voted for Stein. But I honestly thought, regardless of my personal vote, that Trump over Clinton would wake us up enough to get Sanders in as president. No, we are even stupider than I even thought originally. We are even fucking stupider than I thought originally. And that says something, because me, myself, and I personally have one of the lowest opinions of America as an American that you can fucking get. Like, legit. Like I said in the beginning of this thing, I honestly think that 98.9% of us Americans need to get taken out and shot, frankly. You can't have a worse opinion of America than that. Let's be fucking real here. So, yeah. I really wish that America would wisen up and would become, great, because we could be. We have the fucking, monetary ability to do so. And let's be real here, it all comes down to money at the fucking end of the day. Money talks. But no, we're too self-centered, self-absorbed, self-serving, Have I said self-centered yet? Because if I have, I should say it again anyway. You get the point here. And so, people like me, and I'm one of the rare people in this country or any other country, because I can admit to my hypocrisies, okay? And there is a lot of inability to be able to do that, believe it or not. It's a lot harder than it seems to look yourself in the mirror, so to speak, and admit that you're a hypocrite. But I've been doing it since I was little. I understand that humans are nothing but walking hypocrisies. I understand that very few do. And in that vein, what I'm about to say, I realize is hypocritical. But regardless, shit, I forgot my train of thought. Shit, I prefaced so long I forgot where I was going. Fuck. Oh, right, about Sanders or whatever. And so, if we if we yeah, I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, back to China anyway. So if we want to, be great and do something with ourselves, we need to get Sanders in there, because Trump was not enough of a wake up call, obviously. Trump was not a fucking enough of a wake up call, obviously. Like I was hoping he would be. I was hoping his extreme stupidity and his extreme just inability or whatever would be a wake up call that America would need, like I said, to get their collective head out of their ass and heed the warning or whatever. But no, of course not. So instead, like I said, we're being stupid and we're feeding, trillions of dollars into this installation that is actually our downfall, literally, at this point, because it's the biggest contributor to climate change as to date or whatever. And so we have the monetary capabilities to, put our money where our mouth is, to be the greatest. We have the abilities if need be. Heaven forbid I go a Hitler-esque route or whatever. But I'm sure a lot of people, if they ever see this, will think I'm a Hitler, or a Hitler wannabe, I should say, but I'm not. I'm really not. I just have, grasp of the entire situation. We have the monetary requirements necessary, if we absolutely had to make it mandatory that there's only one kid per household, instead of just letting people self-police or whatever. If we had to, we could, in theory, go around and pay, officers to, check every household and to, monitor. And if not, if there is more than one child, to, well, frankly, kill them, honestly, because that's what, would be required. Heaven forbid I kill an already living child. China does. They get some bad press, but overall, no, because it makes sense. Overall, it makes sense for the global exchange, or however the hell you want me to say it. And so, sorry, I'm getting tired. And so they have a one child policy in place, because they understand their duty to the world as being, these cognizant intellectual beings. Like, I took an ethics class this past semester in college, right? I'm a returning college student. And the biggest takeaway I got from it was that, and I already knew this, but I didn't realize, based on everybody's stupidity, that this is also, ethically speaking, what society still says as well. You know what I'm saying? The biggest takeaway I got from it was that it's on everybody for the good of the world, because when you are given the fucking what the hell do you want to call it? The fucking responsibility of an intelligence of our level, it's also our responsibility to take responsibility for it. And all this gluttony, all this wastefulness, all this self-centeredness, there's a term I'm trying to think of, is the opposite. It's unethical. It's not being ethical, it's unethical. And so I really wish that there's a way to make people take ethic responsibility. Like, even if it's not lawful or legal responsibility, whatever term you want me to use to differentiate, we need to be more ethically responsible over lawfully responsible at this point. Because that's why we've gotten into this mess in the first place. Is because we've been so self-centered. We've been so fucking, masochistic in terms of our lifestyle. And people don't seem to realize that. And if people watching this don't understand what masochistic means, it means you take great, great, great pleasure in self-pain, in pain being done to yourself. Either by yourself, like it could be, this is gonna sound really creepy and kinky, but I'm into, darker things. It could be something as kinky as, stabbing needles into, your labia, or it could be as basic as, what idiots are doing now in America, which is, not having kid limits. But that's what masochistic means. It means love to have pain done to you. And so it's not a far leap from going from where America collectively is right now in terms of the global warming issue to being in to if you were to look at a map and the key denoted what areas of the world would be, first to go under due to global warming, we'd be red. We would be red. Red is like highest, biggest threat, or not biggest threat in this case, but biggest chance to die first from global warming, or however you want, or be imploded by global warming, however you want to say it. We'd be at the top of the list right now. We really would be, sadly, because of how gluttonous we are in terms of our lifestyles. People still don't recycle. People still don't, buy hybrid cars. People still don't, bother to not take 8 showers a day to conserve water. And I can go on and on and on about the stupid shit Americans do. Oh, but it's not just in America, all you red fucking idiots will want to stay back. Well, that might be true. But at the same damn time, I know that I'm not taking 8 showers a day for no damn reason. And I know I'm not, and like, you see all these behaviors and these celebs, or these not celebs really, but I mean like YouTubers and shit. And at least to me, I get the vibe, they're all red. And yes, I know this is a very general stereotype, and I know I'm a complete cunt right now. But I'm just so sick and tired in general of people not doing their fucking part. Because like I said, from an ethical standpoint, you all are fucking assholes right now. Truly. That from an ethical standpoint, you are all selfish motherfucking pieces of shit right now. Honestly, that's what you are. Because, like I said, if you're not consciously paying attention to your water usage, if you're not consciously recycling, if you're not consciously, what's the thing else? Consciously planting, if you do plant, if you're a gardener and you do crops, whether it's, a commercial enterprise or just, a family one, how you deforest, etc. It's fucking awful what people do not seem to understand links together, connects together. There's what I'm trying to say. Because one is sorry, I'm falling asleep. Oh my god. Oh shit, I didn't even realize. I'm like, fuck. Ain't insomnia lovely? Anyway, this is just me being real. But anyway, so you can't make claims like we're the greatest place on earth and yet contribute to killing ourselves at the same time. Unless, like I said, you want to go down as the most ironic country in history. And so, for all the reasons I've haphazardly, listed above, I really have to say we need to give China a chance. And we need to take a chance and be brave and be decisive. And yes, for a while, as much as everybody fucking hates this, because you can see it in all the fuckwits who can't even fucking bother to wear a mask right now, and all the idiot governors in places like Florida who decided to open up full time already, even though COVID 2.0 is bouncing around right now and it's like twice as deadly as the original coronavirus. Well, even despite all those idiots and all those fucking morons, in fact, um, sorry, fuck. So yeah, China, like I said, started the first Chinese leader to implement this, and I'm not too clear on if they have a new leader right now yet or not. But the first implementation of the one child policy started in 1976 or thereabouts, and I did research for my college dissertation on this topic, and it lasted 10 to 15 years. And then they panicked, they freaked out, they were worried they weren't going to have enough Chinese people to continue the country on or whatever. And so the leader at, I think it was the 2000 or 2010 mark, lifted it again, and now they're looking at an overabundance of Chinese, which I could have told them was going to happen. But they are still my idols for bothering to take their ethical responsibility and to do the job that us so-called great Americans aren't willing to do, because heaven fucking forbid we actually do something right for a change instead of something wrong. Heaven forbid, right? So yeah, this is why I would support a one-child policy, because anybody knows the more kids you have, the more driving you do, the more waste products you generate. It's just the whole cycle, it's just the whole fucking cycle. And every little bit right now, when we're this close, I don't know if you can see that on the cam, but when we're like, even less than that, like when we're this close to literally imploding by global warming, I repeat, I do not want to be holding everybody else's back. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? It's not my job to hold everybody else's, back responsibility or whatever the hell you want me to call it. So I am Oh god, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Fuck. But yeah, so there needs to be more accountability. When America says, "Oh, we're the greatest country," then show us the fucking accountability, America, aka the federal government. Be patriarchal, even though heaven fucking forbid most Indian Americans would fucking flip over and die from having that happen. And by the way, people who don't understand patriarchal governments, the general idea is that they rule with the people in the people's interests at heart, not their wants. If you understand the differential. So what I mean is everybody balked. I don't know how many years ago now it was when the sugar tax came out. Because everybody wanted to bitch and complain and say, "Oh, well, it's my fucking prerogative to eat like 50 pounds of sugar a day if I want to, blah, 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 blah." Yeah, well, it's also leading to, shit tons of obesity, numbers and diabetic numbers. And we're actually leading countries in obesity. Like, we're like 34%. The UK, in comparison, the idiots we wanted to break away from back in 1776 is at only 16% obesity or 19% compared to 33%. So yeah, clearly we're not working on it enough. And so again, just one more reason to have a patriarchal government for the moment. Yes, that they meddle more, and yes, they, take away quote unquote freedoms. But I would rather have a oh god damn it all. Yeah, I can't see that way. But anyway, so there needs to be a money where your mouth is at this point. Step up or whatever. Yeah, I get we're in the middle of a virus, but American fucking idiots will always find an excuse. That's the issue. If it isn't a virus, it's, oh well, we don't have the right president, or it's, oh well, the facts don't line up. Any idiot can cherry pick facts so the facts don't line up. For God's sakes, it's not rocket science to do that. So if this is all it's going to take to not get anywhere, then yes, we are definitely going to be looking at imploding from global warming by 2040, rather not 1940, excuse me, 2040. And I don't know if I don't know if that's going to be, enough even. If 20 years is going to do it, because I don't think it will. Not with how stupid America's being right now. Yet one more reason to, implement a one-child policy, because then you don't leave it up to idiots or us, you don't leave it up to chance. You know that in 10 rather, in 15, in 20 years, you will have a slow, controlled birth rate with sold, shit, where's my train of thought again? Sorry, I forgot my spot, but anyway, so you gotta have like the backup, and I realize that, but you can't say to somebody, so yeah, in the approximately 20 to 25 years now that this has been my one consuming area of interest, I have realized that patriarchal government is the only way for America to go. Because, like I said, if you can't even have people just, for the good of society, wearing face masks right now in the middle or in the face of a COVID epidemic, then you're not stupid, in my opinion. You're not stupid to, yeah, I'm losing my train of thought again. Anyone? Fuck my life. I've been saying this for 20 years, like I've said, thereabouts. I first realized this was an issue when I was about 7 or 8, and then I really started making it my ultimate passion when I was about 12, and I'm 32 now. I'm a returning college student. Like I said, that's why my age seems way older for, a college student. Like I said, returning, not, first time or whatever. And in that 20 years or thereabouts, I've come to realize several things. One, like I said, Americans as in general overall are too fucking stupid for their own good and mine, which is my biggest concern right now. And number two, you can't trust governments to do a person's job either, which is contradictory. I know, because first I'm saying we need a patriarchal government right now to ensure that we don't continue to contribute to global warming. And at the same time, you can't trust government. So what do I propose then? I propose that we do away with a traditional means of just cuddling and asking nicely. No, that doesn't work clearly with a bunch of idiots. We need more decisive actions for the good of us. And I'm sorry if idiot Reds don't comprehend that global warming is an issue, but they want to talk about all the time how we have rights too, like not wearing masks, for example. Well, what about our rights back of not getting infected and not wanting to put up with fucking idiots? What about those rights? That's why I hate people like Trump. They're so one-sided. They're all well and good until you figure out a loophole, so to speak, and they will not. Yeah. There's been so much that's gone on between so many different, I don't know what you call it, because sex is for religion. I don't know what you call it in terms of there's been so many there's so many different breakdowns in terms of political affiliation besides moderate red, moderate blue, far left, far right, and then I guess just generally speaking, liberal, Democrat, Republican, blah blah blah. There are so many shades of purple, and there are so many like different belief systems involved in between just like walking down the street in your community, 5 blocks, so to speak. There's there's going to be, 80 different opinions, even just in those 5 blocks, so to speak, if not more. And so you really have to fucking take all that into consideration when trying to impose something as, dramatic as a one kid policy. There's a term I'm trying to think of. But I don't mean in terms of, trying to accommodate them all either. No. I think what you need to do is you need to realize that you can't trust the government as far as you can throw it, but you still need it to implement the law. What you don't need is to make sure it stays implemented after the fact. What my suggestion would be is if we were to go to a one-child policy, is we would have checkpoints, I guess, or not checkpoints isn't the right term, but you'd have a different setup governmentally speaking. So instead of, the 2-house system or whatever, now like you have the president who, enacts laws, and you'd have either a Senate or a House to, debate and, whatever. But to me, both would be redundant, kind of. And so you have the POTUS, you have one of the bodies or one of the houses, and then on a lower or more everyday capacity, you basically kind of have the same idea as the magistrate system in China. If they're not still a magistrate system, I apologize. But you'd have like a magistrate like system. I think that's the term I want, where instead of having just one central state government in each state, you would have many state governments in multiple different areas of each state to act as sort of watchkeeper. Well, no, watchkeeper isn't even a word, but watch observers. There's a term I'm trying to think of. You have observers there making sure everybody's observing, the new rules, the new whatever, etc., instead of just the, 2-house system we have now. And I was almost going to say two-party, that wasn't the right term. 2-house system we have now. I think it would be, one, it would be effective, and number two, you could be looking in some ways at less headaches and less backup and less, what the heck's the term I want? Less free, less. Why the hell is this word not coming to me right now? If you don't have freedoms is coming to mind, but I don't think that's the term I want. Like, that's not, like, it can work, but that's still not quite the right vibe I want. So, like, let me back up a step. So, like, if you have all these, mini governments now, instead of one central government, either federally or statewide, speaking or whatever, you have a lot more support. There's a term I want, not freedom, but support in terms of, in my opinion anyway, not only effecting like law changes in the law, but keeping them upheld and keeping everybody above board as well. Because then you're always going to be on alert, so to speak, because you are going to be thinking, oh, wait, well, there's not just one, one governmental body, there's a term I want, anymore, trying to deal with, all the court cases in a year and all the, complaints in a year and blah, blah, blah. You have many ones now dedicated to the same task. And so I think overall it would be a good switch, just generally speaking, but definitely in terms of a America that implements a one child only policy. Because without that, you're still going to be fucked in terms of trying to implement it or whatever, because you're not going to have the boots and the scale to be otherwise, to keep it general. But like without that, you're just, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but yeah. And so you need to have a a much better way to make sure that, like I said, families are following and not being subversive. And number two, you need to make sure that you have the governmental support. And you can't do that, like I said, through just one main governmental body per state, let alone per country. And so even if this play and so yeah, there needs to be a huge shift in not the demographic, but the dynamic, rather, and how and paradigm. That's what I'm trying to think. Paradigm shift, I think, is the term I want here, in terms of how America runs its government and how we do shit here as a whole. Because right now, I'm currently in a town in central Vermont. I don't want to say which one, but since moving here, I have been assaulted, not literally, but proverbially speaking. I've been assaulted by nothing but fucking idiots who think having 5 kids is a smart move and all this other shit. And I just want to gag. I just want to vomit, because it's been such a rude awakening. Because for anyone who might not be familiar with America's, standings politically, we're one of the more liberal states, or we're supposed to be, in theory, one of the more progressive ones. And yet we're having idiots galore thinking that they're meant to be parents, my own parents included. Like, I personally to this day think my parents were idiots to be parents. So yeah. We need to get people educated, as well as mentally screened first for parenthood. That's my 2 cents on the matter anyway, or else we're just going to end up repeating history, because we're already not recycling. We're already not doing everything that that we know stops contributing to it. You know what I'm saying? And so we really need a patriarchal government for the next. I'm thinking how many terms I'm wanting to say we need it for. At least the next. I'd say at least the next 48 terms of president. So the next 16 to 32 years. And I know that seems like long, but that at least puts us over the 2050, now 2040 mark, which would be good, which would be really, really good. And then and with all this, and this is sort of the reason why a little while ago I brought up the point of, you can have 80 different views on the same point in a 5-block radius, walking down the street or whatever, is because when we try to make this shift, if we were to, not when, but if we were to, the biggest thing you need to fucking focus on is people's difference of opinion. or else you will not affect change. If you just go blazing forward and expect people to just open up for your message, you're a freaking idiot. Like I don't mince my words. You're a freaking idiot if you believe that, because it's not true. I thought it was true myself, so I can speak from personal experience. Yes, I was that stupid once, and I'm absolutely embarrassed to admit it, but I'm so glad at the same time, obviously, I can say I'm not that fucking stupid anymore. And so yeah, I really wish, obviously, more would come to these realizations, but until then, I really push for the idea of a patriarchal government. So one that is meddling, one that is for your own good versus for what you want, one that, does make physical, those are all, just basic, routine shit that you do, right? Well, why isn't this yet? And you all are probably thinking I'm crazy for having this attitude about it, but it's true. Like, why are we not doing it? Like I said, we have all the fucking resources in the world available to do so. Yet greed wins out every fucking time, and that's what it is with Trump. That's what it was with Obama. That's what it was with. And so, yeah, and so in my approximately 20 years rather now studying this, I really think that if we were to do, a like, a I don't know what the correct political terms are, but if you were to do like a magistrate type grouping per county, or, two per county, depending on size of county, because like Texas counties are fucking huge. They can cover, thousands of square miles. If we were to have like one, mini government grouping, or how the hell installation grouping or whatever, per, I don't know, let's say 12,000 residents or something. I'm not saying that's the right term, the right number, but you get the idea. Then we could, one, make sure this is being implemented and people are not going underground, or to a better extent, making sure people are not going underground and having illegal children. And number three, in other ways, it would be very beneficial to us, I believe, because just in general, if you have more officials being able to take complaints and listen to the people, you're going to get more change effective. That's just common sense 101. And so for people to think that yeah, if we don't get this figured out soon, we're already fucked as far as I'm concerned, because the quote unquote experts, and the reason I say quote unquote experts is because a lot of this quote unquote experts, at least here in America, still are using those model based, not exponential, but model based, what's the E word I want here? Model based expectations for speed of implosion due to global warming. And those in the know that model based predictions or expectations or extrapolations, or whatever term you want me to use to be most accurate, are totally garbage now. They do not fucking take into account the minute by minute changes and all that other shit that you need to take into account when considering when the world is going to implode due to global warming. And so the people who aren't quacks, who are actual experts, don't use models anymore. But in America, it's more quacks than true experts. So we're still using models, which is then therefore putting false information in the hands of the citizens, thus just continuing the cycles of ignorance or whatever. And so you need to be able to get to a point where, one, you you need to be, as I said, you need to be willing to be decisive, and this is hard to hear. I know, because it's hard to believe that even if it's just in your own heart, if you're an American, or if just in general, because you're not aware of the global warming crisis or whatever. This is hard to hear, but it's still true. America is not doing anyone, let alone us, ourselves, its people, any favors by being an ostrich with our head in the sand and saying, "Oh, this is just a fucking fairy tale." No, it's not a fucking fairy tale. Just for one, glaring example, again, just in the last month or so, I've heard so many complaints from my family and other people, friends and shit and acquaintances that I know, about what a fucking scorcher this Vermont summer is, because it's so hot. It was started out so much hotter than any summer I've been able to remember in 32 years of being alive. And that isn't coincidence. That's global warming for you. And yeah, I know that the majority of reds, especially, but even some, blues and purples, still think that it's all just natural, changes, and it's all, supposed to be like this. No. Like, I would link you my sources, but they wouldn't be available to the general public because they're through a private online database of peer-reviewed articles and shit through a paid subscription, and I don't think anybody is going to be willing to pay close to $1,200 for access to them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would link you my sources, only it wouldn't do you any good. But when I was researching this for my dissertation in college, last year and the year before, because like I said, this has been my topic of study for many papers now or whatever. And I guess I'm using dissertation wrong. I apologize. Essays is the term I want. I apologize. This has been my main focus of study, and all the papers for college that I've done are focused around this topic for the most part. I also did my thesis on this in a way, because my thesis covered the place where religion and science converge, like where they meet each other, whatever, and why to me spirituality is the way to go over religion, because religion indoctrinates you and it makes you think that the only way to be a truly good Christian is to be a baby maker if you're a female, or to just be a sperm donor your entire life if you're a guy. And that is the farthest from the truth that somebody could be, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying? And so I looked at the implications of religion versus spirituality first, in terms of, does one have more weight medically speaking than another? And it actually turns out religion is way less therapeutic. Isn't that ironic? It turns out mainstream religion, like the big three, is far less therapeutic, scientifically / medically speaking, than spirituality is. And so I think my lucky stars, and I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian anymore, or even a spiritualistic Christian. I'm a spiritualistic New Age Satanist. But I thank my father Satan that I had the wherewithal to stop being a mainstream Christian like 10 years ago now. Because if I hadn't, I'm really afraid, because I'm I'm very easily swayed by my Christian, brethren or whatever, unfortunately, because my mother indoctrinated me so early that they still have quite a bit of, sway, aka ability to guilt me or whatever, even at the age of 32. I'm not proud to admit that, but I still at least, can be adult enough to do so. I really am afraid that I might have, fallen prey to that attitude trap or whatever you want me to call it, and already have 5 fucking kids to my name, or 6, or more. And that scares me. That literally scares me. And so there's so many pieces and parts to this that people don't realize that need to be taken into account. And again, that is why I give kudos rather to the Chinese government, because the Chinese government knew that if they were going to make the one child plan a success, that it wasn't brainwashing. To a lot of idiot Americans, they call it brainwashing. So I'm going to use that term just so I can relate to you all, but it's not really brainwashing. It's really more, how do you package the truth to be swallowed by the consumer? And yes, if you want to call it brainwashing, fine, but I don't call it brainwashing. What I consider brainwashing is not delivering any form of the truth whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And so if you were to say, oh, well, or so for example, to give you an example to understand my differential, if you were to say here in America, let's say America, for example, were to implement a one-child plan now, and the reason and for reasoning, the government said, oh, well, we want to do this so we can, I don't know, be the first country to be a one-child, policy, or one-child policy nation, rather, since like the 90s. That would be a lie, because China already has been that, but a lot of people wouldn't think to look past what the government says, you know what I'm saying? So they'd be brainwashed, and they'd actually probably believe that. Whereas with China, yeah, it was close to brainwashing. Yes, I don't deny that. I'm not a fucking idiot. But to me, it still was right on the line, because how they packaged it to the average, citizen was that you need to do your part for China's future and limit your child number, your family size, rather. There you go. Did they explain why? No. Would I have supported them more if they had, treated their citizens with, the decency of common, respect enough to think they were smart enough to understand why? Yeah, hell yeah. But at the same time, no, I don't find it brainwashing either. No. They were selectively presenting the truth in a way to have it go down the easiest. And yes, well, that is a divergence of brainwashing that is not, or a divergence from like a subform or whatever of brainwashing. It's not true brainwashing, is what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, to do the same here, you would probably, unfortunately, need to do a full brainwashing, not a selective presentation of the truth like with China. Because honestly, in my experiences, Americans are too stupid to not buy something other than a complete brainwashing. And yeah, let that sink in for a minute. Let the ginormity of that statement sink in for a second. That is honestly how little respect I have for the general American right now in terms of their smarts. So, if China and we, if we and China rather, cannot, or if we cannot learn from China rather, we are going to be history repeating itself. And we already are. We already fucking are, because we are at record highs for fucking childbirth rates and all this other fucking bullshit. We are going to kill ourselves by probably 2030, frankly. Not even 2040. So in just 10 years, just in one single fucking decade. Let me repeat that. One single fucking decade, we will probably implode or be on the precipice of imploding. Not even two if we continue at the rate we're going. And so, yeah, where the fuck do we get the people to convince everyone? That's not my specialty. My specialty is laying out the facts. I'm kind of like Sanders. I can tell the story like it is, but I'm not good at drumming up enough or the right kind of support. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still going to talk because it still matters and it's still relevant and it still needs to get the fuck out there. A lot of idiot Reds would fault me for opening my mouth without having a solution. Well, at least I'm presenting the facts and the truth of the situation versus the idiot Reds who are all climate deniers still. So, you know what? I take that as a kudo. I'll take that as a kudo because I am at least not just totally living in denial, and because of such denial, literally condemning everyone to die because they don't take global warming seriously. So yeah, I don't. Shit, where the fuck was I a minute ago? Fuck. I don't. Shit. Where was I? I don't. I don't think that, like I said, this is not going to happen overnight. This is not going to fucking happen overnight. And like I said, this is why we need to take all those 80 individual opinions into account when we decide how we brainwash the country. Because if you are just going to, like I said, throw complete bullshit out there, you're going to have some people blowing the whistle and saying, oh no, this isn't true because they're going to know because they're like me. They're like me. They are they're aware of, actuality versus American presented reality. And so, yeah, it's going to not work. But I think that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, even if, we could not come up with the right, what is wrong? Brainwashing, oh my God. Brainwashing, agenda. I'd say we still just do it the old-fashioned brute force method. And, yeah, I don't need to get, if I need to go further into detail on that, let me know in the comments. But I don't need to get graphic for everybody who can, connect the dots either on that point. So, yeah, there is not, unfortunately, a happy medium anymore. Not as far as I'm concerned. It's got to be a strictly implemented one-child-only policy. Like, if you're expecting twins, then yeah, one of them is going to be killed in utero as far as I'm concerned. Heaven fucking forbid I say that too. That's what China did. That's exactly what China did. And for good fucking reason, because every fucking mouth, every fucking bare feet has an impact on the overall picture. And so, yeah, twins, triplets, quadruplets, going to be one come birth time. And so, yeah, either that or no, I'm not even going to go there. No. That's giving Americans too much leeway. No. Yeah, so if you're expecting triplets or quadruplets or whatever, yeah, you're not going to be once, birth time comes around. Furthermore, to that vein, like I said, the whole brainwashing scheme or whatever, you need to you really do need to do what China did, which is paint it in the light versus the dark. And so they they checked all the positives. You're saving your country, you're doing your part. you're helping China maintain its long-term health. Every single point they made was actually true. It sounded like brainwashing propaganda bullshit, but actually, in terms of the impacts from global warming and in terms of a view from that standpoint, it was spot on truth, believe it or not. Actually, it was no brainwashing whatsoever. It might have seemed brainwashing in the way it was presented, and I will give you that one. I will give you that one 100%. Like I already said, I too wish they had thought more of their people and so, presented in a little bit more of a scientifically based way or whatever. But regardless, either way, they did not present lies. They presented truth because the less people you have, the more food you have to go around, the more resources you have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all true. All the points they made in their propaganda campaign were true, and so I really, give China double kudos, in fact, in a sense, because so many over here think nothing but negatively of China, and China has a lot not going for it, but the things it does have going for it are some of the most on trend, like, political points right now, or however the hell you want me to say it, like the whole Hong Kong thing or whatever. I know that's really off topic, but the Hong Kong versus mainland China ordeal or whatever, that was spot on too in terms of political upheaval in today's age or whatever. So yeah, China to me is really spot on in terms of sort of its political upheavals right now in general. And like I was saying a little bit ago as well, China was really pissed at itself overall. Well, the government was pissed. I don't know if the people overall were pissed, but the government was pissed at itself for lifting the one-child policy. Back, I think it was in 2000 or 2010 now, because now I said there's an overabundance of Chinese again. And so it really does pay to be a patriarchal government versus this bullshit, frankly. This is bullshit. This is the reason. Our government, frankly, is why we're in this mess. Like, I don't blame us individually. No, believe it or not, I do not blame us individually. I blame, excuse me. Excuse me. I blame the idiot puppets, and the blue or red for that matter, or purple, who are elected each and every cycle to Congress, whether it's state Congress, federal Congress, governor of a state or president themselves. I hold all the fuckwit elected officials responsible because, like I said, they are supposed to want what's best for us, not this wishy-washy, lackadaisical, stance or, approach or attitude, whatever term you want me to use here. And so I wish that one, obviously the obvious one is, stereotypes and stigmas could just be, done away with overnight, but obviously that ain't happening. Or else we wouldn't be having a racist orange in the White House right now. But so also though that, sorry, I've lost my place again. And because people don't think of China and think greatness. Yet, ironically and stupidly, they think of America as the greatest place on earth. And well, yes, I get the reason behind that. That attitude. It's not by far the right one to have, and we are the biggest contributor, hands down. Well, we're in the top three, rather, as a country versus a militaristic installation to be climate global warming contributors anyway. So even if we didn't have the military we did, we'd still be in the top 5 contributors to global warming anyway. And so it really hurts to not have more people invested, obviously, because we need it. But more than that, it's necessary because otherwise you're just looking to repeat history. And I thought the whole point of, humans was they wanted to, wise up and not repeat history, right? So then we have a chance to do that. We need to take it. We need to be bold and brave and not so fucking scared of losing quote unquote rights, like walking down the street without a mask, for example, during COVID, or basic other, decent shit, decency things. And it just pisses me off that you can't open your mouth these days, especially under the regime of Trump, but just in general here in America, and say the word abortion without, getting 25 dirty stares. And that's not how it should be for any woman, and that just really bespeaks of the ingrained culture that we're being fucked over by on a daily basis. Because when you are so fucking convinced that because as soon as you take a thing like, your right to bear children or whatever, just like your right to bear arms or you know, your right to not wear a mask, you're obviously gonna get, nutsoids and shitheads up the wazoo coming at you. But you and there's just like I said, there's just so much between the Chinese government and our government that I think they could learn from one another. But especially though us as a people, as an American nation or whatever, needs to first wake up and realize what we're doing, and we haven't yet. And I'm really afraid because, like I said, with the child birth rate or whatever now at like peak percents, I've heard, and I'm not saying all my sources are correct, and I haven't bothered to research this part. I've needed to write a paper for, a couple semesters now. But what I've heard through the current grapevine in this regard is that it's like it's just like I've been saying, it's the whole fact that it's really hard to teach a new dog new tricks, an old dog new tricks rather. And in this case, you've got to convince an entire population that stripping them of their rights is right. And that's a tough sell for anybody, and I realize that. But at the same time, we don't have a choice anymore. As far as I'm concerned, frankly, we do not have a fucking choice anymore because if we did, we would. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about how you package the message. And my personal 2 cents on the matter would be You don't, frankly. Like, I know it sounds shocking and harsh, but you don't. You just announce, or you have the, magistrate groupings, like you talked about, for lack of a better term, announce to, they're part of the country because they wouldn't be, deputized or monetized. They'd be. Uh, and so there's so much that needs to be done, and there's so much that can be done, but it's not going to be done sadly because humans are so self-centered, and Americans are at the top of that pile, frankly. Like, I've watched a lot of travel videos, I've watched a lot of travel shows, I've watched a lot of, documentaries about other countries, and just comparatively speaking, like, just the base hospitality between here and a place where a lot of Americans would probably call a shithole, or probably call dangerous, or probably call, racist slurs. Like, for example, Pakistan or Singapore, or, other, countries that are, just because of their, loose attachments or whatever to the cultures. Americans are really mad with, they still get the same bad rap. So, for example, Singapore is insanely generous and open in terms of its people and culture. And, just because it's Asian too, heaven fucking forbid I say something about it, say something good about an Asian country right now. And that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about, because it's not just it's not just you, and it's not just yeah, so there's all this shit that can be done, and it's all a matter of, the government needing to do its right, not what gets its pockets lined. And it's so hard to see all these other countries where, just coming off the plane, you in some countries you had strangers just walking up and saying, welcome to these visitors, and you sure as fuck don't get that in America. If you walk off the plane, you get dirty looks, and you get people pulling their jackets around them tighter, thinking you might be their next rapist, so to speak. Total different attitude, total different fucking, vibe. There's the term I want. And it just shows. It just fucking shows. And it's toxic. It is so fucking toxic. And it's not. And so, yeah, obviously people don't like patriarchal government, or the idea of it rather, because we don't have one yet. Because they can't even fucking deal with masks to save everybody's life during COVID here. But at the same time, hardwiring takes time. Like, and even people who aren't shrinks understand this, because if you're college students, let's say, right, and all of a sudden you have finals coming up for the first time, and you're not normally a night person, you're not normally one to be okay with night hours, and you all of a sudden find yourself, like I said, coming up to finals and you needing to cram, what the fuck are you gonna do? You're going to condition yourself to be a night owl, at least for that 2 or 3 month frame of prepping yourself for finals. Then after you're done, you might go back to, not being a night owl anymore, but that's still, conditioning. That's still mental conditioning. That's still what I'm talking about. And college students are, shrinks. And so you don't have to be a professional to get the idea here. But without the right mental reconditioning or the right mental rewiring, we're going to be fucked until the cows come home. We're going to be fucked until, Trump dies and daisies mount up on his grave. Like, that's how long we're fucked for. If we can't get this figured out. And so, yeah, I get that one-child families are not popular. But they're definitely a fucking necessity at this point. They're coming up to be. And my attitude is, especially because I'm a hedonist at the end of the day, and if I'm going to get 1,000,001 comments saying, well, how the fuck can you be a hedonist and still say, well, fuck kids in essence, I didn't mean that way because kids are impeding my ability to be happy. I don't need this fucking shit coming down the pipe in 10 years. Fuck that crap. So yeah, that's why I can still be a hedonist and say, fuck kids. Because they're impeding, they're readily impeding my ability to even fucking breathe, literally. And nobody likes not being able to breathe unless it's a play session, and people who know what I'm talking about get my drift. But unless it's a play session, people don't usually like to not be able to breathe. So, all you fucking idiots out there, do me a favor collectively and get your collective head out of your collective ass, would you please? Because this is totally killing me, and it's totally killing you too, whether you want to come to that conclusion or not. Because, like I said at the beginning, this is ironically the saddest joke I've ever seen on a humor front. That Americans are contributing to their own death to the tune of, I think it was like 23 trillion last fiscal year for the military or some shit. Yeah. No offense, but you could not get more American if you tried. That is just too classically American as far as I'm concerned. And so to prevent this, like I said, not negate. You can't negate anymore, but you maybe mitigate. And even mitigation is not happening anymore. It's not happening anymore. There is just nothing you can do to say, hey, let's try another route. I don't see one anyway, because like I said, if even my little slice is enough of a picture based on other parts of the country that I'm seeing during quarantine, I think it is. If we don't take this level drastic, if we don't take measures of this drastic level, that's what I'm trying to finally freaking say, America is seriously going to be one of the first countries going under. They really are. Like, if anybody remembers the movie An Inconvenient Truth, ex-Vice President Al Gore says in that movie that should global warming rear its ugly head in the way he thinks it should, and he's one of the global warming experts I trust at least, and I don't trust many. If things go the way he thinks they're going to go in a doomsday global warming scenario, Florida is going to drown in less than an hour, pretty much. In an hour, the entire thing is going to be 80 feet underwater, and everybody's dead. So if you want to avoid scenarios like that being reality, and yes, I do mean fucking reality. This is not a joke. This is real time here, however the hell you want me to say it. We all as a country need to start considering moves this drastic, because otherwise, like I said, people individually are good and wholesome and care and are worried about shit like this. People are stupid, selfish creatures, and I hope I'm making that differential accurate enough for you to understand what I'm trying to say. But just, mindless grouped together masses are too stupid for anybody's good. That's why you have idiots like Trump thinking he can pass an abortion bill. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I personally feel like one child limits are America's future, as well as our only hope, frankly. Because if I understand numbers correctly, we're still one of the only countries who does not, in terms of numbers, like I said, does not. If the numbers are accurate, and like I said, I don't know how true to life the numbers in these types of polls and shit are, but if numbers are to be believed, a lot of Americans still think that it's normal, like worldwide in first world countries, to. And the reason and let me back up here for a second. The reason I specify first world versus second or third world countries, and if those terms are not politically correct anymore, I'm sorry. Please tell me in the comments what the politically correct ones are so I don't look like an idiot in the future. But the reason I'm specifying between first world and second or third world is because, well, attitudes are like assholes and everybody has one. I personally have come to see patterns in said attitudes and whatnot. And what I mean by that is the more affluent your demographic is, and I don't think it matters if it's white, black, or green with polka dots, the more affluent your given demographic is, the more likely they will be to be pro life and not pro choice. And that might seem like really fucking opposite of general attitudes or whatever, which is the more the more informed you are, obviously, and so the better choices you make, and so the less kids you'd have. Well, or no, I know I got ahead of myself here. Hold on. What the fuck was I saying? Shit, I forgot what this. The the more money you have, it doesn't matter your race, the more prone you will be to be in pro the numbers say at least that Americans, not on majority, a slim majority, but majority still, think that God is still the way, the truth, and the light, or how the hell you want me to say it. And or if not to that extent, they still think that God is still well and alive in America. Let's put it that way. And or to that same point, and or just to flesh that out a little more, and or that God is still watching over us and looking down and protecting us, and blah blah blah. Well, that's all very well and good and cutesy or whatever, but that is not reality. Like I said, reality is that carbon monoxide gets absorbed in the atmosphere by, I can't remember the term now. Shit. So anyway, I won't go there. So yeah. So there is a Hold on a second. I gotta check my phone. I'm expecting a call. Yeah, okay. I need to hold on a second, guys. Sorry, I need to send a text real quick. This is really important. Um fuck this phone. There we go. So, sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so I had to check in with somebody. Like I said, I was expecting a call by now. Anyway, so numbers for Americans at least say that, I think if I remember the poll numbers correctly, like 55 or 50% of Americans still believe God is well and alive and good in some form in American life or whatever. And the reason I'm having such an issue with this number is because, again, it all comes down to attitudes and how to brainwash people in effect, kind of. And because according to a lot of the evangelical people, God expects you to be nothing but a baby maker. That's why you have families like Duggars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like I already said. And so you compare this to a place like China with a much smaller Christian percentage. And granted, a lot of that is because of persecution, and that's not fair and all that jazz, blah, blah, blah. But I'm looking at this purely from a example standpoint, not from an ethical standpoint. Like, oh my god, how do I want to differentiate here? I mean this strictly from a numbers perspective versus an ethical perspective right now. Let's put it that way. Numbers wise, that's to me still a better scenario to get people to take down the idea, because you're not dealing with such a large number who think that God doesn't want us protecting his environment and protecting his earth and protecting his home. And that's another thing that pisses me off. I gotta go on to a diatribe for a minute, is that Christians are so fucking hypocritical, period. Because they claim they're all about God and the Father and all this shit. Yet 3/4 of them do not recycle. I've seen this firsthand. Like, I've been to, they don't seem to care about the environment. They don't take it seriously that, in the Bible, Jesus says both that God will provide for us his most blessed creation, but he will also provide for the earth. And so then, if we're part of the way he provides, I think we are, then we need to fucking care too, and we're not. And so that's why I don't like the percentage of Christians right now in the country. Because a lot of those, I don't know the exact percentage, but a lot of them are, the evangelicals, Duggars, like whatever, who think, oversized families are fine and that, they're not doing anything wrong, blah, 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 blah. No, they're doing plenty of damage. They're doing plenty of fucking wrong. And I wish that, America would finally wake up and, frankly, as harsh as it sounds, make them take responsibility for their mistakes, actions, whatever you want to call it. Because I think last I checked on the show was like 22 kids in, 23 kids in. It's fucking nuts. Like, seriously, like, that's just bad parenting in general. Like, oh my, like I'm going off in a diatribe still, but still, yeah. But yeah, so that's why I fucking hate it so bad. But anyway, from a purely there we go, purely scientific standpoint, um, it's still not good because, like I said, it doesn't take much in this country to indoctrinate somebody, to brainwash them anyway, you know, unfortunately. But also, doubly unfortunately, in this case, it's hard because it's a topic that nobody wants to, you know, discuss. So, yeah. That's my 2 cents on it for now. I'm going to end this. I clearly really need sleep. Bye-bye.